All right, let's move on to our main stories as we monitor events in the business world. The Ghana Chamber of Mines is pushing for some tax exemptions for exploration companies in the 2019 budget or risk losing investments in the sector. Speaking to Joy Business, President of the Chamber, Eric Isubontin, said the exemption has become necessary as the current taxes in the sector are causing the industry to lose business to neighboring countries.
As a chamber, we would be making detailed input to the Ministry of Finance to ensure that our concerns are adequately reflected. Having said that, some of the things that we've raised in the past has been to do with, for instance, VAT and other taxes that applies to exploration. You know, mining is a long-term, you take a long-term view or perspective when you are in the mining business, and it starts with exploration. At any point in time, you need to have a pipeline of projects that are coming through. If you are not effectively exploring, you are not going to have that pipeline continuously. The current operations will come to an end. You need new discoveries so that you can sustain the industry. We've made those concerns known to government in the past. We need to ensure that the exploration sector of the mining industry is incentivized so that they can keep exploring. At the moment, we're losing a lot of exploration activity to some of our competitors in the region. For instance, Mali, Burkina Faso, and so on, because it's more expensive to explore in Ghana. And remember, when you are exploring, you are not making money, you are just spending money. And so we have to do what is right to support that aspect of the industry to ensure that we keep having a pipeline of projects and operations coming through.
The threat of cybersecurity to Ghana's financial market has led to the introduction of best technologies that protect business transactions and clients' data. The Securities and Exchange Commission is advocating the move by all industry players. Charles Aite has been at an ongoing workshop by SEC and the cybersecurity firm E-Crimes Bureau and has come through with this report.
Have not been able to come up with new innovative ways of hacking into systems like this in the financial market to get the needed information they need to make any other transaction they wish to get. We put all these concerns to the head of Security and Business Directorate at E-Crime Bureau. They're going to be the company that have been engaging SEC officials on cybersecurity, and he's in the person of Philip Dankwa Deborah.
In most organizations are sort of having issues with system vulnerabilities, and to the extent that they don't know. And it's important to expose them by bringing their awareness level as to the potential threats that are existing. So much that in going back, management can implement certain policy programs to ensure the cyber attackers don't take advantage of the systems we are running on.
Reverend Obama is the Director General for SEC, and he tells me that yes, it's much of a concern to them, and they will, going forward, be looking at deeper engagement with government on best ways by which they could ensure security when it comes to the cyber world.
Going forward, we will be looking at what kind of directives to give, what kind of capacity building programs to put in place. Because it's not enough to just give a directive. Importantly, the directive must be there, but then you need to ensure that the operators also have the capacity to do what it takes to ensure that they are sound when it comes to cybersecurity. So yes, we will be doing a lot of engagement because it's also a very dynamic area, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we just have to be on our toes, and at the end of the day, we are keeping in mind protecting investors and also protecting the integrity of the market. So to the extent that cyber crime or e-crime can be a potential hazard to our industry.
At a click of a button on your computer screen or even on your keyboard, a financial wreck could erupt. And this is the main reason why SEC, through the E-Crime Bureau, has come together to form what has been termed a strategic workshop for all directors under its purview. The question so far remains whether or not government and even the financial institutions are ready should any instance of a cyber attack strike the financial market. For Joy Business, I'm Charles Aite reporting from the Best Western Premier Hotel in Accra.
Now, a delegation of German industry and commerce players will in the coming weeks be engaging Ghanaians on business opportunities in Ghana's water management systems. Now, these investors are setting out a plan for sustainable and affordable access to water in the country. Here is project manager Nana Owusu-Efriye.
We have been commissioned by the Federal Ministry in Germany to conduct a study on the water sector in Ghana. But in the framework of that project, we are also supposed to gauge the interest of the different stakeholders in the water sector in Ghana. We want to bring them together to collaboratively work on an approach or like a roadmap on who is responsible for what technology is available to address these challenges in the water sector. So the entire project is in 3 modules. The first module is a target market study, which we launched today. So our next step would be the stakeholder workshop, which we have pegged for the 13th of November 2018. And then as well, right after the workshop, these different stakeholders will collaboratively bring out a strategy paper on the way forward, on the solutions that we have identified for the challenges in the water sector.
All right, you're watching Business Live. We are taking a short break. We'll be back with more.
Welcome back to Business Live. To one of our major stories tonight. President Akufo-Addo has been defending the move by the Chinese government to embark on a $60 billion infrastructure project in Africa. According to President Akufo-Addo, the facility provided is not aid, rather a loan which beneficiary countries are expected to pay back. He made the remark when responding to a criticism that he has betrayed Africa by accepting part of the facility at the recently held China-African Forum despite his quest to develop Ghana beyond aid. Answering the question at the currently ongoing Tony Elumelu Foundation on Entrepreneurship Forum in Lagos, and my colleague Ebenezer Sabote is the man on the ground. He joins me on the phone right now. Ebenezer, thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, Sandra.
Yes, Ebenezer, thanks so much for joining us. Kindly update us on what the president has been saying.
Okay, so the president has been defending the move by the Chinese government to give Africa $50 billion facility. According to him, it is not aid, but it's just a loan which African governments can access to support their infrastructure development. You know, in Ghana, many people have been criticizing him that he began the move of Ghana beyond aid and Africa beyond aid, which he led some members of the African continent to go for China-Africa Forum. And being, able to accept that money, it betrays the agenda of Ghana and Africa beyond aid. So he has just been, responding to the criticism. So
is it saying that, the Ghana beyond aid agenda doesn't really mean that we will not get any aid from any other country?
The Ghana beyond aid or Africa beyond aid agenda means we are not getting aid, but we will be getting loans. So he said borrowing is not aid. So we can borrow, but we cannot go for aid.
I see. So let's talk about the Tony Elumelu Foundation, the entrepreneurial forum that you're currently attending. What has been happening?
Okay, so this morning they have 5 pitches which some entrepreneurs from the African countries came in to give their business ideas, and one has been picked. It's been supported by the Afri-Exim Bank, that's the Africa Export and Import Bank. One lady from Madagascar was picked. And then also later we had Tony Elumelu himself address the gathering, giving them hope about the future of Africa, telling them that the youth is the building, the engine for Africa's growth, and the need for us to build whatever SME we are, creating. And later on comes in President Akufo-Addo, and then we also received a message from President Uhuru Kenyatta through telecast, through a broadcast signal.
All right, Eben, one other issue that has been facing a lot of entrepreneurs in Africa is funding. Are they speaking to that and ways to address that challenge?
Yes, the issue of funding is actually the main problem why the Tony Elumelu Foundation has been found. If you remember, it's a 10-year project which is seeking to fund about 5,000 Africans by growth of the 10 years. So they are giving $5,000 each person.
All right, so Ebenezer Sapute is our man from Nigeria. He's currently attending the Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Forum being held in Lagos. Let's move on to other stories now. And the latest estimates from the World Bank puts global GDP at roughly $80 trillion in the nominal term for 2017. In nominal terms, the U.S. still has the largest GDP at $19.4 trillion, making up 24.4% of the world's economy, while China's economy is far behind in nominal terms at $12.2 trillion in 2016. China was actually the world's largest economy. So where do we fall as Africa, and what is our contribution to the world's economy? Joining me via phone now is Courage Boti from Data Bank. Hi, Courage. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Very good evening to our listeners.
I'm sure you've seen the figures. Are you surprised at Africa's contribution?
Oh, not at all. I think what is showing in that figure, or the figures put out there, is that the norm has been maintained. United States, China, Japan, Germany, they've been in the top 4 for the last few years and remain there. And then what is distinct about these countries? China, for instance, you will see China is the factory of the world, more or less now. Every good, everything you can talk about as manufacturing is coming from there. Now they are even venturing into the construction and all those other services, and then matching the U.S. boot for boot for aid, loans, and all those development assistance that we've seen as the sole preserve of the UK, the U.S., and then to some extent Germany in the past. And so it's no wonder they are expanding at the pace they are expanding. Bring it back to Africa, and then you see our part of the world, less industrialization. Most of us are resource dependent and then exporting them in their raw form. It is the reason China will want to increase their presence in Africa, on our continent, print their footprint here, because the resources they need to continue the expansion, the resources they need to feed their factories and industries are all coming more or less from our part of the world. And that is the reason you can see a full trade war is brewing between China and the U.S. The fight for supremacy over who dominates the African continent is in full glare. So it is not surprising that Nigeria, who is the biggest contributor from Africa, is contributing just around 0.47% to the world's GDP. And then South Africa, who is actually the most industrialized country in Africa, is doing just a little around 0.4%.
Right, Courage.
To that global GDP.
All right, Courage, you notice also that China dropped significantly. Will you want to attribute it to the trade war between them and the United States?
Well, so last year was, China has been on a downturn for some time. Growth rate wasn't as strong as in the years past. So it wasn't a 2017 thing per se. They've had issues with growth in times past, in recent times, and it's just a continuation of that. We see that in 2017 there's been kind of some recovery to some extent. But if you see the drop in China's GDP, you see we're talking of 19 billion for US and then about 12.2 billion for China in nominal terms.
Right.
In real terms, in PPP terms, weighted terms, China is still the world's biggest economy in every sense of it. So nominal terms, yes, US, but in PPP terms, China is still the biggest.
Right.
They had issues from last year, which accounted for the slowdown in their growth.
Right. Let's narrow it down to our own economy. I'm talking about Ghana. What is the prospect of our GDP after the rebasing?
I come with your question again.
I'm asking the prospect of our GDP after our rebasing.
Oh, yeah. We've been post-2016. We've been on, and it's been predicted severally across IMF, World Bank, and those other multilateral agencies that Ghana is on a path to strong growth. We see from a 3.7% growth in 2016, we picked up to 8.5%, and then the projection was that we're going to grow around 7% or so. I think government projection actually places it around 7.5% growth in 2018. Largely driven again by our oil sector and then of course the natural resources, gold and all of that. That is before the rebasing. After rebasing, it appears that because of the introduction of new sectors and the base effect, growth rate might not be as strong as the 7.5% projected, but that is by no means a contraction in the economy or reduction in growth. It is just by the fact that new bases will be introduced, and then we expect that new oil fields have come on board. They are ramping up. Sankofa will ramp up, from next year going, hopefully, when the gas production component actually picks up. And so the growth prospect for Ghana going forward is strong. But it is nothing compared to what is coming from China and other parts of the world.
Thank you very much. Courage Boti is an economist with the Data Bank. Darrow, are you hopeful of our economy?
We can only be hopeful. And a quick update on one of our top stories. The Bank of Ghana has denied holding back on support for banks that are having serious financial challenges. There are reports that the central bank has been slow in responding to these banks hit by panic withdrawals. We have more from the advisor to the governor of the central bank, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, at 7:30 when we bring you business on JoyNews Prime. Thanks for watching. My name is Darrell Kwao.
And my name is Sandra Esenamapeno.